Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Two Clicks from KO. I'm your host, Aaron, and I'm joined today by a special guest, Zack Strong, aka Sasquatch. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just hanging out.
Hanging out, talking clicks.
Got off work, long week, man.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, for those of you that don't know, Zach is. I made friends with Zach just kind of through him messaging the show and stuff like that. Zach's in the Pacific Northwest region, has come down to California to play in one or two events, right?
So it was kind of a combined thing. So there was the night before trial, and then the 1K for the Majestics. Yeah.
Right, and plays in a lot of the Majestics online events, and is currently in the Kilted Classic event. For those of you who know about that event, for those of you that don't, we'll talk a little bit about it later on. Zach can give us an update on how he's doing in the tournament. We're going to talk about the recent Roc announcement for their national level event, and then we're going to talk about some previews. We're going to answer some questions. But first, we're going to get to know Zach just a little bit. So, Zach, people are asking, who is Zach and why is he so strong? So, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, how you got into clicks, how you just anything that would be important to know about you.
Sure. Well, to start of how I got into clicks, my friend Garrett, who some of the Pacific Northwest guys might know, he doesn't play much anymore, but he's the one who got me into the game. He just showed up at work one day with a bag of clicks and was like, "These are for you," and we started playing at his house. And at first, I didn't like the game. I thought it was way too complicated, but stuck with it and got the hooks in. That was probably like Age of Ultron was the first event I went to. So
okay.
not too long ago. Couple years.
Was that 2017?
Maybe it's longer than
2018?
I thought. Oh man, time's flying.
2016? That's 2016.
2000. Oh my God, it's 2015. That's 5 years ago. Jesus.
You're an old man.
Okay, so I've been playing longer than I thought. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah. So from there, just started amassing a collection as you do, and then went to a WKO at Gabby's in Olympia, Washington, and ever since then, that's my thing. I like to do the competitive side of the game and really try to make as many events as I can.
So, what made Garrett think that you would enjoy HeroClix?
We played a lot. Well, continue to play a lot of video games together, and we played a little bit of Magic together before I got out of the game. But also just being a fan of comic books and superheroes. That was a big reason that he suggested it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my desk is a little bit more bare these days at work, but if you had looked at my desk at work, I'd have all my not pops, but I had the keychains. I have a keychain collection of the pops because they take up less space. So I just had them lined up on my desk. So people are like, "Oh, you're like into nerd stuff, huh?" And I'm like, "Yep." So yeah, I get it. That's cool. So you like the competitive side of HeroClix? Do you play casually, normally, or?
Well, yeah, non-Corona times I do.
Yeah.
I run a group at our local comic store. We have probably 5 to 8 regulars. It's not a very big group, but pretty consistent. It's been the same group for years, and we do that once a week. So I do still play casually, but competitive is what I enjoy the most.
I think 5 to 8 is pretty normal for most groups, especially areas where there's multiple stores. You get like loyalists.
It's not. It doesn't seem like HeroClix is super big in my area at all. So even like we're the only comic book store in my city. All the other ones kind of died, and The next closest shop that plays HeroClix is about 30 minutes away.
Hmm.
And even they don't pull very many people. So I just don't think it's a very popular game here.
I don't think it's a very popular game in most places. I
Yeah.
think like if you went to like uh, New Jersey, right? Obviously, you have Team Pusheen plus the Arnold Berkovitz is there, right? So it's like obviously that's going to be a big area, big place to play, like Glen Burnie and some places like that. I know Pat get it's a pretty good pool. Um, we get an average of like 8 for like our monthly OP stuff, and then usually for like a winning map, I'll pull like 12. And then states, I think we did like almost 30 or maybe just over 30 the last big event I did. Um, and then but like Avengers Infinity, we had 18 for the pre-release. So
Hmm.
it's like, it just
Random.
varies. But I think like we never really drop below like 6 to 8. Um, and that is a lot of times it just depends what else is going on, what day of the week. So like if my brother comes, it's always him, my nephew, and sometimes his nephew from
Okay.
his wife's side.
Add some padding.
Yeah, and but they only play Sundays because Saturdays like their Sabbath and stuff. So it's like there's a lot of factors. So I think like eight's a pretty good group. Eight's a pretty good group.
Yeah, eight's at like the maximum. There was a time where it was like me and one other guy. We would show up, and
Yeah,
it was just us every week, and it was like, all right, well, hopefully we can get some more people in here.
yeah. I mean I did a winning map 6 months in a row, right?
I remember that.
And
Yeah.
and so like the first four, I had 12, like pretty much 12, and then month five, I had three, and then month six, it was like 10, and I was like, that's really random. Okay, you know.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is just finding the schedule that works for everybody, and making some compromises, which which will lead us into our next point.
All right.
All right. So before we get into some fun stuff like previews and new sets and stuff, um, we're gonna talk about the Rock. So the Rock, aka Rums Open Championship, for all you new listeners. So you know what? I In my area during COVID, we've got like three new players.
That's weird.
We have not had any events, but I have like a lot of people joining my local HeroClix group, asking me where to get boosters, how to get started, or not me, but the group. And it's like, okay, cool. So I'll try and be a little bit more informative and assume that people might not know what I'm talking about. So Realms Open Championship is a separate entity from WizKids, but they are partnered with WizKids. For those that don't know, and they run. If you follow Magic, it'd be like Star City Games to Wizards of the Coast, right? So they're aligned, but they're separate. All right. So Realms Open Championships, they get some backing from WizKids. They run their events, and they get exclusive maps and things like that. So they decided. So normally the Rock has the Rocktober, right? So the big event in October, the Rock World Cup. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen this year, which definitely not now. But so they decided they're going to run this big,
I think that
not
I think that Howard said it wasn't going to happen on the Clicks Off podcast.
it
It was not.
was not okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, right. And so they decided they're going to run this big national level event for online play. So Rock currently does have a Rock Online, right? It's been going about a year and a half now. So they've got it's a good amount of experience under their belt, but the majority of their events are 16 players or less, right? Um, so they made an announcement, and it says, I'm gonna read it. It's a mouthful because Howard's long winded. I love Howard to death, but he's long winded. It says this is an announcement to establish and clarify how the verification of ownership and borrowing. Oh, so they made the announcement they're going to do it online, and then the question was asked because Rock currently has a policy you have to take a picture of your figures to make sure you actually have access to them, right? And if, normally, let's say Zach didn't have a figure, I could take a picture of the figure, send it to him, and that counts as his, right? And so the question was asked. I believe Rick Ryan was the first one to ask if it, or maybe it was Sam Powell. It might have been Sam. But multiple people asked, will verification of figures be required? Because the thought is with more people, they're probably not going to require it, right? Because a lot of other bigger events aren't requiring it. PJ, for example, over at Critical Clicks is doing the Kilted Classic, right? And they're not requiring ownership or possession, which would be really crazy because you're going to need a lot
Yeah,
of different figures of
it'd
plays
be a
event
nightmare.
because of the way it's formatted, but that's a whole different story. So that's normally how it works. So I was asked if that was going to go on. Um, and there was some pushback, and people wanted it to not be part of the process. Personally, I feel like it should be. You already have the rule in place. If you have the rule in place, you should go by it. If you're gonna not go by it, then just get rid of the rule altogether, right? But part of the deal is they have backing from WizKids, and WizKids says they want that in place. Okay, and that's been in place since the very beginning. When Rock Online was first being developed, I was included in some of the development um, until I decided not to. But that was very clear from day one that WizKids expects proof that people are still buying the physical product, because otherwise, you know, you're just getting their backing and you're not selling their product. That was the thought. So there was a big back and forth. You can find on our newly launched Two Clicks from KO discussion page, um, uh, along with various other discussion pages. And so here was the answer that they came up with. This announcement is to establish and clarify how the verification of ownership and borrowing of game elements will work for the upcoming online Roc National events. We're attempting to replicate how borrowing and lending works in an in-person event. At the same time, we understand the current situation and are compromising where possible, specifically to not require any mailing of figures for the purposes of borrowing and lending. So the thought is, if Zach wanted to borrow my figure, what would normally be the expectation is I would send Zach the figure. He would take a picture with the figure or of the figure, and that would be part of his team. But that process has always just kind of been bypassed, right? Because it was never actually explicitly stated it had to be physically in your possession, right? Just that you had access to borrow one. But like, I'm not going to out anybody here, but I know for a fact about people just not even trying and like one person submitting teams for like three people, right? Which I don't think was the original intent, right? So, um, the verification pictures that we are requiring will be selfies with all game elements on the teams, including maps. Verification emails can include multiple pictures for the team event. One team member will be sending in the pictures and build sheets for all team members for simplicity. We'll also be requiring that the formal build sheets are filled out for teams. These emails with verification images and build sheets will be sent to whatever with the following subject line and has, whatever you're going to send. As an example, suppose that Jay Solomon is playing a team in a singles event for which he owns some but not all of the team and is borrowing one or more game elements from Howard Brock. Jay will send him his verification email in which he has his own pictures that he took, as well as a picture from Howard with those borrowed game elements. We'll be noting the people who are borrowing game elements and those who are lending, as well as verifying that any lenders do have all copies of those figures. This is so one person cannot lend multiple copies of game elements that they do not have. For example, if Howard Brock has one copy of Brainiac on his build sheet and is lending one to Jay Solomon, Howard will be contacted to verify that he does own two copies of Brainiac. Anyone who is lending figures must post what they are lending and to whom in the lending tree channel in the Roc Online Discord for ease of verification. Any concerns regarding this procedure can be brought up to Roc Online personnel for review on a case-by-case basis. Okay, that's a mouthful. I'm gonna drink some water. Zach, you tell me your thoughts on this.
So when it was first announced about the online event, before they made this clarification, I know, as you mentioned on your discussion page, there was a big back and forth. I can't remember, it might have been Pat who started it. And, it was interesting to read both sides of it. And I think even, Kenny chimed in and Howard chimed in and we're like, I'm going to read all these comments with great interest. And I'm in the camp of players that I don't buy a lot of pieces. I don't buy a lot of sealed product or singles. And so, what I have is limited and I borrow a lot from my local play group and from some of the other players at events. And so I was interested to see how this was going to be because, if they require physical verification of me having every piece, I'm not going to be able to play a lot of good stuff. And on the flip side, I know where you're coming from saying, you should have to prove it because what's the point of playing this game if you can just, play anything? And I think this is a good compromise in between where I take pictures of what I've got. Someone else, wherever they are, can take pictures of what they got and they're lending it to me. Now, that being said, with the extra verification, making sure, that Howard has 2 Brainiacs to lend, for example, that's going to be a lot of work on those guys. I'm not envious of what they have to do.
Right. I believe there's 5 judges.
There's 5 judges. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a headache, because I imagine, we'll get into it, I'm sure, in a minute, but with the cost, I don't know how big of a draw it's going to be, but that there's going to be a big turnout for this. And so you have to imagine these people, they're going to spend hours alone just verifying all these pieces.
Yeah. And they're not requiring teams until I think like the Wednesday before.
Okay.
Right? Is that what it is? I believe it's something like that.
That sounds familiar.
So you have 2 days essentially to verify teams and builds and lending and all that stuff. So yes, I agree with you on that. My first knee-jerk reaction, and I messaged Pat this because Pat likes to instigate, and that's what he was doing in his post, and which is fine. Pat and I have fun with that. And I was like, that's probably the worst possible conclusion they could have come to, because, and that's not me trying to poop on them, because it is a fair compromise from what I was saying. Because I personally, I was like, look, I would take it a step further and be like, if Zach has his team, he needs to take a picture of his full team, right? And then maybe put your ID next to it, or I don't know how easy it's gonna be to take a selfie with a whole team, but
right.
That's why I figured lay your team on down, take a picture with your ID, and that's that, right?
Yeah.
Now I understand that requires some shipping, and I'm not totally unreasonable. I get it, and you lose some of the context when you're just commenting on a Facebook post, right? If you know me, I'm not totally unreasonable about this sort of stuff. So I get Dustin and DJ, kind of what they're saying as far as no verification required. I think PJ does a really good job of kind of stating his case, but also not shitting on people, right? Whereas you get
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
You get people calling people pussies or gatekeepers or whatever, and I don't think that's true, man. I don't buy a lot. I've definitely scaled way back on the amount of product I buy, and I've been mostly selling all of my competitive stuff. That being said, I am playing in the 3 versus 3 event. You, me, and Chip are teaming up.
Yep.
And so it's I can't be gatekeeping if I don't have the stuff myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So and gatekeeping is such
it's a weird term for it.
It's just a douchey thing to say, but it's like I think people like PJ did a good job of expressing themselves without like really like, and on the opposite side, like Rick Ryan, he was kind of being a jerk, the way he was talking to some people in certain posts, and so I get it. But I
I think
think
ultimately I would have been okay with any of the three potential scenarios. I guess like play anything, have to have a picture
yeah,
of everything in
yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah,
or this.
yeah,
Um, I would have made it work, whatever it was. It's this way I think is nice because it doesn't require there. You think about how many people would be lending. There'd be a lot of shipping going on and potential lost or
right,
damaged figures and extra
for sure.
cost involved. So
Yeah, I think okay. I'll make a couple points about. I'm gonna poke some holes in a few arguments, right?
all right,
So like one of the things was, well, we're in a pandemic, and it's unreasonable to expect me to go pick up something from my friend or to get something in the mail. And I'm like, cool. I totally agree. If that's really how you feel, I totally agree. However, almost everybody that said that I have seen buying, selling, and trading on the trade pages at current point. So you either believe it or you don't.
yeah,
Okay. Further, you go to work, right? Or if you're not going to work, you go to the store. I guarantee you, at some point during this pandemic, you've gone to the store to buy something non essential. Guarantee you. If you can go stand in line at Walmart with 200 other people to go buy beer, you can go stop by your friend's house and pick up a piece of plastic off their doorstep.
right. You don't even have to make contact.
You don't. You really don't. When this all first started, I did my Justice League Unlimited brick opening from WizKids. Um, I didn't have anybody to play with. My brother lives with my nephew. They have somebody to play with. He came and picked up everything I opened. I put it in a plastic tote. He said, "Hey, I'm on my way." I put it out on my porch, and he came and picked it up. We didn't make contact. Totally safe, right? Um, that can be done. So some of these arguments, they're straw man arguments, if you ask me. Okay. Now they come from a good place, right? And then like the more reasonable ones to me is like to require the cost and like to your point, possibility of damage. Like that, I get that. But that wasn't what was being said, right? It was the cop out answer of the pandemic.
Right.
Okay. So I get that. Now some people have said, well, that The Rock never required this before. It's like, yes, well, The Rock also pretty much only had 8 people playing in most of their events, and it was usually the same 8 people.
It's just a Winamap, right? It's different
Yeah,
when you've got the
yeah,
pricing that this has.
right. This is going to be factory sets. This is going to be full sets of team up cards. This is going to be, I mean, if past is any indication, that's what national pricing normally is. Pick a figure. So it's like I think that things should be run a little bit more proper. And if that's your rule, that's your rule. Now, on the other hand, uh, if they said, you know what, this is too many people, we're in the middle of a pandemic, WizKids understands we're just not going to make this happen. You're not going to require verification. Cool. I'm still going to play.
Right.
I the idea that I saw this too. Well, what about the European players? Um, okay, first off, not saying that they won't play, but it's gonna be like 2 in the morning when the tournament starts over there. You know what I mean? How
Be a
many guys
long
are?
weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long weekend, and then and and I was like, it would be really easy to make the exception for the European players because we know they did not get Justice League Unlimited and Forward. So let's say, okay, for the European players only, we're not going to require Justice League Unlimited for it. Now, I get that opens up a can of worms, but that is a compromise that's reasonable and could be made. So I just don't think. I would have rather them either just stuck what they're already doing. We're going to require pictures, but we don't need the ID or the selfie. As long as you can prove that you would normally have access to this, that's fine. Or just say, you know what, it's not that many. It's too many people. It's too much work. We only have 5 judges. just for this one event, we're not going to require verification. We want to see everybody brings their best team, and the winner goes the spoils, right? I've been fine with that. I really think that while this may be the most fair compromise between the two camps, it's probably the worst solution on the Rock's part.
I agree. Yeah, it's going to be, as I mentioned, it's going to be so much work for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. And let's be very honest, for those who have been following the Rock for a long time, they don't have like a great track record of just running things above board, I guess we'll say. Um, Not saying they're totally corrupt, because they're not. It's just there tends to be the thought and practice that, like, you know what, let's just let it slide. Let's just let it slide this one time. And so my thoughts are, I have a feeling that people will not be doing the verification properly, and it will be let slide. And then so that those people that did do it properly, like, they're almost, in a way, they're at a disadvantage, because they actually did things right, and like maybe you are limited, and the people that got let slide, it's whether it's because of personal bias, right? Like, we're friends, or you know what, that's a really big name in the hero clicks, we better just let them go, or they'll make some noise. I just think I can totally foresee. I'm not saying it will, but I could foresee something like that happening, and it be with good intentions, but um, sometimes good intentions result in bad actions. So
For sure. I think, to that point, if they let it slide, and, as you say, you're not saying it's going to, but if it ends up happening, one here, one there,
yeah,
eventually I wonder if down, later in the verification process, they're just like, you know what, this was way too much work. And then they just end up letting it all through anyway.
yeah,
And they should have just gone with the other way to begin with.
yeah. Especially when you're not requiring the teams turn in until the week of,
Right.
right? I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And I listened to the Majestics podcast the other day, and Pat had made some good points about how they, like, other games that were played online, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. So, like, a lot of people are like, oh, Pokemon. I know Marty Ortiz was making a point to me that it's like, well, Pokemon is running events online, right? Okay, but Pokemon actually has an online game,
Right.
you know? And he goes, well, I could borrow stuff on there. I'm like, right. But if you borrow it from me on there, you still have to actually have the online card, right?
Right.
So
It has a separate inventory. Yeah.
at that time you're playing, you can't just, oh, let me send it to you. You turn in your build, and then you send it back to me, and then you play the tournament. No, you have to keep it the whole time. So now I don't have access to that card, right? So, like, I get what he's saying, but it's not a good argument. And
It's not a 1-to-1 comparison.
no, exactly. It's apples to
Yeah.
oranges, right? So Pat made that point, and I think is a very, very valid point. Personally, I don't think they should have run the event, because I just don't see how they're going to run it in one weekend. B, they're relying on way too much third party properties, like Roll20, Discord, HC Realms.
You're
Um,
hoping all these servers hold up. I mean,
all this, yeah.
again, thinking of how many people this could potentially draw versus, just an example, you've played in the online Majestics events, and that
Yes.
even just trying to get Discord to cooperate with 12 people in the room can be a headache. And so,
Hmm.
say there's 60 people playing in this, how's that going to
Yeah.
affect things?
I played twice, and the second time I played, there was too many people, and I couldn't even conversate with my opponent. It was like frustrating to no end. It was like, I and I feel really bad. I was almost yelling at David Cologne, because not because I was mad at him. It was like I was frustrated with Discord, because I was only hearing every third word he was
Right.
saying. He was only hearing every second word I was saying, and it was like, I mean, HeroClix is hard enough to play in person sometimes. You know
Yep,
what I mean? Because
sure is.
people don't say clearly what they're doing. You know. So yeah, man, it's gonna. That's for me personally. I'm not playing in the individual event. I've not kept up with Modern Age as much as I should probably, and B, it's like I don't want to be here all day for 2 weekends in a row and just be totally frustrated. That being said, I do think they'll get more people for the team event than the individuals.
I think
So
so as well. I mean, yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't know if I'm going to do individuals. I'd like to, but I don't know if I can commit 2 weekends in a row and $60 to an online event.
yeah, that's the other thing, right? But so the price point is a little high. Like normally, for the 3 versus 3, you pay about 70 something dollars or $80, but you get 6 boosters out of it, right? But I think the difference is like so Howard has to actually buy the pricing from WizKids, so WizKids doesn't take a loss on it, right? So then he has to make up that cost somehow. That being said, I still think he's turning a pretty good profit on what he's getting.
There's got to be something in there because
Yeah,
I know that he's mentioned he's budgeting shipping into everybody's entry fee or whatever,
sure, sure.
because that's a factor you have to think about when doing it
That's true.
online. But
Yeah,
I still think that $30 is a bit steep per person.
per person. Yeah, I think it's a
'Cause-
little much. I mean, I pay that. We charge, I think 25 for the regional I ran, right? But we're one of the lower end costs. I saw some charging 30, and I saw some charging 35. The ones that charge 35 for the most part added their own pricing though, which I added some pricing out of my own personal collection, but I didn't feel like I should upcharge for that, right? I really just cared about the store making its money back and making a profit, so we charged 25. I figured the lower price point would draw more people, and I think it did.
for sure.
So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of factors. I'm really interested to see how the event goes. I anticipate about 100 players. I don't.
You
I
think for
that
the team event or
for the
for the
team
individual?
for the team maybe a little higher, but I think individual about 100 players.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, man, I don't envy the judges, and I
No.
thank them. I thank them for being willing to do what they're doing. Um, but I do not envy them, man. This is
I hope
gonna
they're
be.
getting something good out of it.
Um, they are. They are. I know they are. I won't say how I know because it's kind of funny, but I was involved in a conversation by accident. But it's worth it. It's worth it. But for me, I don't know. I'm lazy. I wouldn't want to do it. So, yeah, man. Any closing thoughts on this?
I'm I'm glad it's happening. For me, traveling is expensive and difficult. So going to nationals is something that I've wanted to do and been unable to. And so, it's going to be fun to have the opportunity to do it from home. So I'm glad it's happening. Um, Even if it's not exactly what everyone wanted, I think I would imagine most people are in the same camp as me. That it's just like I'm glad this is just a thing that's happening.
Yeah, I think so. And I do think the $30 price point will drive some people away. But for people like myself, I have traveled to national events. So I'm kind of in that weird spot where it's like I've gone, but I can't always afford to go. You know, and you know, with especially in my own personal life, the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of money on my. I don't disclose a lot of personal information. But I bought a house in the last 2 years. I've had to hire lawyers in the last 2 years for personal stuff out of great expense. And a few other things that they just cost money, man. And so I haven't been able to get out there. So to your point, being able to play from home is a lot cooler than having to spend easily $1,200 on a trip easily. Between
Right.
hotel travel, food, you know, playing the games themselves, and having a little bit of money just to have while you're there, just in case. It's expensive.
Yeah, I know that when the Eagles were doing their World's 2020 thing, they hit me up. They're like, "We want you to go." I'm like, "Man, that's so much money." It's like
It
I
is,
gotta I gotta plan ahead for a year to make that happen, probably. So
yeah. And I've had a lot of help. I've had people pay some of my expenses. Just they volunteered and like really insisted. And so I was like, all right. Other years I paid. The first time I ever went to Worlds, I sold my entire Magic collection to go.
oh
You
dang.
know, yeah, and I sold it at about 40% value.
Oh,
And I got like just enough to cover the cost of the trip and buy some stuff for myself to bring home. The second time I went, I took a loan out on my 401k to go. Um, and then the third time I've gone again, like I said, I had some people help pay some expenses, just insisting that I go. So I was very blessed in that year. So yeah, man, it's like crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in. I think uh, I think people got really fired up about this event. And I think whether you're calling somebody a douchebag or throwing your weight around saying you're not going to play and rock ever again because I didn't get my way. You people know who you are. But I think one thing that it shows is that people are passionate about this game. We're talking about um, other card games. How maybe HeroClix isn't as popular, so maybe it's not as popular as far as like number of people, but there's a lot of people that are super passionate about this game, and I think it's really cool. Like, you don't have to go very far to just find out like how many HeroClix podcasts have popped up in the last couple years, right? People, podcast is kind of the thing to do. Everybody has a podcast now about something, but I think like the fact that it's such a small population and it has that many podcasts that people know about, and people donate money to Patreons and stuff like that. People just are really passionate about this game, and I think that that's going to carry over into the attendance of the event.
I can see that. Yeah, the passion and the community of and the players themselves are what make this game as fun as it is. I think you take the same game in a worse community, and I don't think that I stick around as long as I have, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. A good example would be I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head. He's an Italian player. He designed Maker, right, as part of his championship figure, or he selected it. I don't know if he got to design it. He posted on one of the trade pages that he was looking to get one shipped to him in Italy, right? And I told him if I pull one, I'll hook him up. And then PJ had the idea of we should all pitch in and just make sure he gets one. And the last time I counted, there was 24 people, including myself, that were like, "Yeah, I'm down."
Oh,
You
cool.
know,
I
so
didn't
it's
see that.
like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's like so 20. I don't know. Let's say Maker costs $100. Right? Like just because everything's expensive right now. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Figures that should not be as much as they are. I think people have extra unemployment money that they're blowing through.
Sitting at home bored too, like, yeah, let's go shop.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm doing it too. I got stupid crap that I'm picking up just
Listen,
because
this
I'm home.
this pandemic's been bad for my other hobby, which is game collecting. Everything's skyrocketed in price because everyone's buying stuff.
It's all
Yeah, it's
collectibles as a
terrible.
whole. There was a shiny Charizard Pokemon card. I pulled it early this year, or me and my son went to a tournament and we got some packs, and I opened the shiny Charizard and I sold it for $500, right? Because it had just
Whoa.
come out. Um, it dropped. It dropped to $200, right? Before COVID, it's now at $800.
Holy crap.
and they're still producing more of the set. Like they just had a re-release of the tins, so there's now more out there, and it's still
That's
going up there.
insane.
Yeah, like you don't see that normally, right? And so yeah, everything's crazy right now, man. So, but I think let's say it comes out to be $100. There's 24 people. We pitch in $3 each, and the guys that's more than enough to buy one and ship it, right? I would think so.
That's such a cool thing. Yeah, I think that's a weird. Um, it's weird that WizKids doesn't give them the piece that they either selected or designed. Right? Like you have to hope to
Yeah,
get it or buy it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of odd.
I think they should give them the whole set, personally.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I I mean honestly, like WizKids gets like a lot of volunteer labor too, man, and I won't mention specifics, but I'll just say they don't always fairly compensate the people that help them, right? Or when they do, it takes a long time. So, but yeah, I mean, part of it is it's funny because the prize is right. Pick a figure or design it or whatever. Nothing says you get that figure. It's really
Nope.
funny. It's crazy. All right, let's move on. We got some questions to get answered before we get into anything else because I want to make sure we get through all the questions before we jump into like previews or anything like that.
Sure.
Um, so Christian Bogan says, with the new Fantastic Four set releasing, which keyword except for Fantastic Four are you wanting to build around? Oh, that's a no-brainer for me.
I have a guess at what yours is. Um, I mean, Cosmic's an easy one. I imagine that there's going to be some power pieces in that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what
There's
to build? I mean,
Frightful Four. So let me just run through like kind of some of the figures just looking at the list. There's Scrolls, there's like Frightful Four, there's obviously Fantastic Four, but he said excluding that. I
yeah.
see like a lot of new robots, some Inhumans, um,
I,
monsters like Mole Man and some of that. What
I,
is
I like to
La-
build a lot of. I build a lot of generic teams because it
mm-hmm.
allows a lot of flexibility
It's
and
easier, right? Yeah.
I think scientist for me. There's a lot of good scientist pieces, and especially in Bronze Age, I love that format a lot, and so scientist adds a lot. There's some good pieces. Um,
For me, scroll like
yeah,
obvious. I love the scrolls, man. I've been playing scrolls as long as I can remember. Um, whether it be wildcard abuse teams back in 2006, or zombie super scroll in 2015. I've been playing scrolls. I'm so happy to they kind of they fixed the team ability in a manner that is acceptable to me on my own personal scale. They've got some great little characters like the Scroll Infiltrator or the Scroll General. I think the new Super Scroll is interesting. I don't think he's overpowered, but I think he's definitely interesting enough to play. Um, getting to pick between some of the powers that he does. So, like, just as an example, on his top dial, he can potentially have super senses, plasticity, impervious, and shape change, giving him 3 rollouts, right? And then his shape change, because he has the scrolls team ability, I believe the shape change will be 4 through 6, right? That's what
yeah.
they changed his team ability to.
I think you get +1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So shape change 4 through 6, super senses 5 or 6, impervious 5 or 6, right? And that's if you don't take like stealth, barrier as free, things like that. I think the thing in Mr. Fantastic is a really great choice of powers. Play him at 50 points, which is awesome.
mm-hmm.
Um, he's got Frightful Four, which is awesome. Again, I'm excited about those figures. Cosmic Soldier Warrior. We've got some cool stuff coming out for soldiers that were previewed today. House Rules Gaming had leaked the 1776
Yep.
Spider-Man that plays well with the soldiers.
Dude, that
So
piece is nuts.
yep, it's a pretty good piece. So I think Scrolls would be like the one I'm most looking forward to.
I think
Uh,
just a commentary on kind of the add-on to this question is that this set. One thing I noticed is you scroll through, every piece has a billion keywords.
yes,
Like I don't know, some there's the occasional that has just two, but
couple,
it feels
yeah.
like everything has 4 or 5 keywords. So there's a lot of team building possibilities in this set.
Four, yeah. A lot of them are four. Even the starter stuff's like kind of cool. The Silver Surfer in there's pretty cool, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
There's some really unique abilities, like all the Invisible Womans that can kind of like redo your team, right? Because you can change them up off your sideline.
Hmm.
Um, Annihilus, there's a really cool take on Annihilus being from the negative zone. The way that he negatively modifies opposing characters. There's some like fan favorite characters in here, like Amadeus Cho Hulk, Ghost Rider. Everybody's favorites. Spider Man is in the set, of course, right? Everybody kind of
Not a
craps on
Marvel
that.
set without a Spider-Man in it.
Everybody kind of craps on that, but I'm like he was in the Fantastic Four. I
Yeah.
mean,
I would
he was a member.
I didn't look at all the previews. I've read the thread, but do any of them? Does he have the bombastic Bagman costume?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's
They
what I was
did.
hoping for out
I
of the
think
set.
they're one. I think they're one and done, man. With that one, the old web of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
bombastic bag, man. But yeah, let's see here. Let's see. PJ says, Zach, you only get to keep one JRPG series. What is it? I don't know what a JRPG is, but
Oh, it's a Japanese role-playing game, video game.
that's what I thought. I figured that. Okay.
Oh, geez, what a hard question. Um, I talked to PJ a lot about video games, so that's why he threw this
He
one out.
collects like the Final Fantasy stuff, right? Like he's real big on
Yeah,
fantasy
he's a big
stuff.
Final Fantasy collector, which that's the immediate that comes to mind for his question, just because they're varied and there's a lot of them. So if I have to think about tossing only having one series forever, yeah, it's got to be Final Fantasy. I don't think just for the sheer amount of games there are and variety.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot of them, right? But I
Maybe
think like
Dragon Quest. Oh, that's hard.
I was gonna say Dragon Quest. That's the one I was gonna pick
Yeah,
actually, because for in America I think it was Dragon Warrior, right? They changed
for
it.
for the first couple, and then
Yeah,
it was Dragon Quest in
but
Japan,
but
Dragon
the
Warrior
but
in the
the
US.
the slime games are part of that, right? They're a spinoff,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? So you also get to include those, right? So that'd be kind of fun.
it's a loophole. Yeah.
There's a loophole. Yeah. Let's see here. Jesse Cote says, "How dope would a Majestic's Age ban every round event be?" So what he's referring to is PJ. We've mentioned a couple times doing the Kilted Classic or whatever it's called.
Critical Clicks Kilted Classic. It's hard
I'm
to
I'm
say.
I'm too
Mouthful.
tired to think of all this crap right now. Um, so yeah, so basically what happens is at the end of every round of his tournament, any figures that were used on a team that won in that round are banned for the rest of the event.
And map.
And map.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Only for the winners bracket though. So the maps that win in the losers bracket are not banned. Otherwise, we'd run out of maps. But
Yeah.
a winners bracket team, because it's double elimination, winners bracket, their winning maps get banned as well.
So yeah, I think you already have like a crap load of stuff to build from in modern age. And so like Majestic's Age would be Superman and up. It'd be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun, man.
So PJ saw that question and he actually said that he's going to be trying to do a bronze event for this
Mm.
with a different format. So it's going to
Yeah.
be instead of build with whatever's been eliminated, you build. He's trying to figure out the specifics, but build 2 teams, and then you are eliminated from the event when you lose with both of them, and you can't share any game elements between the 2.
That's cool.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
a little
like
bit of a
so
different
it's
take.
like Ultra Highlander, double elimination basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and
So
he was telling
you
me
can
there's.
change teams each round, right? Though.
So I think that's the stuff that's being worked out, but he was saying you maybe have it be blind submitted to him, so you know what your opponent's going to play, so you can't play matchups. He said maybe do 3 teams instead of 2. Maybe have a limit on the maximum point value, so not everybody just plays tent poles. But he
Have
did
you
say it would be full Bronze Age, not limited, so resources and all.
have you played League of Legends, or have you ever seen like competitive Hearthstone?
Yeah, not League of
Okay,
Legends, but competitive Hearthstone. Yeah, I used to play Hearthstone a lot.
so what they do, right, is they like, let's say you and I were gonna play. Uh, I have how many decks? 5, 3. It's like 5 decks, maybe
Yeah, I think it's
4.
5. I think it's 5. Oh, it's been a while since I've watched one, but that sounds right.
So then it's like, but it's only like one from each archetype, right? So like warrior, mage, whatever.
Yep, one from each
So
class.
before our we play each other, I would ban Zach's rogue, and Zach can ban like my warrior, right? And because maybe Zach doesn't have any decks that deal with a warrior deck very well, for example. So you could do like 3 teams. Your opponent gets to ban one, right? If you like in the first round, your opponent gets to ban one, so you only get to choose from the 2, something like that. That'd be a little
I
bit
think that's a cool
interesting.
idea.
That'd be
I
pretty
like that
fun.
idea. Yeah, and I think it's. I like that he's thinking about switching it up a little bit, because trying to
Yeah,
do the same format in Bronze Age would be quite the
yeah,
spreadsheet you'd have to maintain.
yeah. I do think that like I do think you have to. Your opponent has to have knowledge of the team, because they have to verify it, right?
Right.
They gotta be able to verify what you're playing. So I think that would be like maybe a good compromise.
That's a cool
Uh,
idea. I like that.
let's see here. But yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. Some of my favorite maps are in Superman and up. So like actually from the 2 earliest sets, there's the oh my gosh, Bizarro
That
World
map
from
is a headache.
and then on the Hulk, from the Hulk set is God dang it, what is it called? Shadow
I'm not familiar. As before my
Shadow
time.
Shadowland, I think Shadowlands.
Shadowlands.
Yeah, and what it does is it basically limits all range to 6.
Oh whoa.
Yeah, and it's like elevated on the outsides, and then
Shadowland Fortress.
yeah, love that map. Love
A
that map.
character can't target a character, object, or square more than 6 squares away. So it's a built-in indigo battery.
It's Deep Shadows. There was a
Yeah.
battlefield condition called Deep Shadows back in the day.
Okay.
That did the same thing basically. So yeah, that'd be fun, man. I love that map. I played it all the time. Let's see here. Uh, Matthew Armour says, with the previews we got today, do you think we'll be seeing a set with ultimate sub theme, since the team ability was printed in the Spider-Man card?
Oh, I didn't see that. That's interesting.
I did not notice that.
I looked at the previews, but I didn't notice the
Oh, was that from today? That was today's, huh?
018
Oh yeah, it is
Spider-Man.
Ultimates. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Well, I guess we'd have to get it then, right?
That's a good catch. Yeah, I didn't see that.
I mean, we already have Avengers Initiative, right? So it's the
Hmm.
same as Avengers Initiative.
They've
Um,
been revamping team abilities though.
but like this is Miles Morales, right? And his first appearance is Ultimate Fallout 4,
Yeah,
right? So
it's an
yeah,
expensive
man.
comic book.
Don't remind me, dude. So just a little spin off. I remember being very mad that they were going to kill off Peter Parker. And I was like, I refuse to buy that book.
Oh,
I could have bought like dozens of copies of that book at cover price, and then one animated film later, and it's like expensive.
yes.
Like I could be swimming in the money right now. Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I can't see why they wouldn't at that point.
Yeah, I wonder if they, as they've been doing with like Scrolls and Minions of Doom, if they're gonna revamp it or.
No, it's on the card.
Oh, it's on the card. Oh,
It's improved targeting and improved movement hindering.
oh, so they're just leaving it the
It's
same then.
yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty much the same. Yeah,
Oh, all right.
yeah, pretty cool.
I didn't see that it
That's
was actually
yeah,
the team
super
ability was printed. That's
yeah,
cool.
super good catch. Super good catch. Um, I think all right, we got a bunch of questions on the discussion page, which is what it's for. Um, let's see. First question from Anthony Barneswell: Who is Zach Strong? Covered that. Second question from Steve DiCarlo: Why is Zach Strong? Covered that. Nate says, third question: When is Zach Strong? And Justin says, "What is Zach Strong?" And Corey says, "Where is Zach Strong?" Zach Strong. Where is Zach Strong?
Zack Strong.
So pretty funny.
They want to know all the W's. We answered half of
uh,
them. The rest will remain a mystery.
yeah. J.S. Roman says, "Any relation to Jack Strong?" And he has a picture of a comic book there, a Jack Strong comic book. So Roman works at my local comic shop. He's a
Oh,
good guy. Um, Corey Franklin says, with the new set coming out, will we see Aaron come back with that Super Scroll teams? Asking for a friend. And then, so I already answered that for sure. I will play Super Scroll a minimum of 5 times. Minimum, probably in like competitive. What is Zach's mutant superpower if he could have one?
well, they always joke my mutant power is team building because I send them 50 teams a day.
I
Uh,
I would call that like indecisiveness.
I'm gonna take the easy answer. My favorite superhero is Colossus from X-Men, and so
Uh,
I'd love to have his powers.
yeah.
Turn into organic steel and have super strength and never have to eat stuff like that.
Yeah, his skin is actually adaptive, right? Actually it's not just steel; it's adaptive. It's
Yeah,
adaptive
it's
to the
like a
heat.
weird organic steel. Yeah.
No, but it adapts. So they further added on to that, and that it adapts based on what he needs in the situation.
Oh,
Not
interesting.
like not like totally, but like it's still kind of just metal. But it can be more malleable. It can be like more tough, stuff like that. It can be like resistant to heat or cold. Um,
Oh, I
yeah.
learned something new.
Um, Roman says, with gravity feeds, deep cuts, WWE releasing in between major sets, do you think there's room for some other type of clicks product releases, like when they did the Batman mini boosters back in the day, like the Streets of Gotham? Or would that be too much product in an already pricey market? I don't know, man. For me personally, it's too much. Like on a personal level, some people with deeper pockets, then like they can't get enough, man.
I think that's hard for the collector, right? Like the completionist.
Yes,
You think of like
absolutely.
the Dan Powell's, who he's a completionist, and so he gets everything. Like that's
Dan
painful.
Dan buys 3 cases every set.
Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
I know I know this for a fact. 3 cases every set. Um, anything competitive, like a one of competitive, he has to get 2, right? Because Sam plays.
Right?
Um, anything you might want to play 2 of, he has to get 4. Like so it's like it's not
Yeah,
just Dan. It's Dan and Sam, right?
right.
So like it's not one person buying all this stuff. It's 2, right?
Yeah,
So
that was just the first example that came to mind. But I've even
sure,
got
sure.
I've got 2 players in my local group who are completionists, and so it's like you add more product to that, and that's tough. But I think variety is always great too.
Yeah. Having the choice of what to buy is nice. Like I know my brother buys a lot. He buys a lot. I won't throw him under the bus here, but He buys a lot, and it's kind of tough because he plays a lot. They play a lot of kitchen table games, and they do a lot of sealed games with the because he lives very close to his wife's family, and they have a lot of boys that are around 18. They're in their teens, we'll say, and so they're interested in the game, and they really enjoy playing sealed. So he buys a lot. So like for people like him, obviously more options would be good. So he's not he doesn't have 17 commons that are not Dr. Fate, uh,
I like, recently WizKids has their last couple of gravity feeds have been really good, both from a casual perspective and from a competitive perspective. Um, and I think gravity feeds fit that market well.
yeah,
It probably isn't too tough to come up with a 12 figure set or 24 figure set.
right.
Uh, and it's good for the impulse buying. I know that when there's a gravity feed sitting at the store and I'm standing there waiting to pick up something else, I'm like, why not? Let me grab one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
They're like $3, It's
yeah,
like,
$3 or $4. Why not?
yeah,
I think
one
that's what
less,
I like.
one less Starbucks, right?
Yeah, yeah. One less comic book. That's
Yeah, there you go, there you go. Let's see here. Uh, so from the last two sets, which are your favorite pieces and why? That's from Marty Ortiz. Sorry, I was fighting
so.
back a hiccup.
Are we counting Fantastic Four, or are we going to say before that?
Let's count Fantastic Four.
Okay. Oh, that's a. There's been some fun stuff. I it's. I'm not going to say the obvious, like you said, last two. So
So Justice League and Fantastic Four.
yeah, let's not count Black Widow. But from Justice League, I won't say the obvious, the chases. But I really like the Booster Gold Super Rare. I think he's absolutely solid for his points. He's got awesome utility powers, and I'm just a big fan of Free Barrier. So
It's always good. From Justice League for me, it would probably be Ace. I like to play disruptively, and Ace does a great job of that. Right?
Ace is
Uh,
obnoxious.
she sucks to have to target down because you're taking damage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you you get no problem unless you're running a theme team, right? So she's just kind of a pain,
And
and that
she packs all useful utility powers on top of it, right?
yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah,
got
for sure.
Perplex, TK, Prob,
Hmm.
and Barrier.
Yep, super fun. My kind of piece. And then from Fantastic Four, that's I would have to go Maker. He's probably my biggest want from the set. Um, I I guess he's my biggest want because he's a chase, so I know he's gonna be harder to get. Like I don't think Super Scroll will be very hard to get. For as an example, so like Super Scroll is like probably my second favorite character in the set. My first being Silver Surfer. As far as like characters, but as far as like the dial goes, I really like Maker. I like the way he plays. I think it's a really cool piece. It makes bystanders, which I'm also a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he has like some cool powers. He's actually, I think he's tough to bring down. Like people don't realize that he's going to be kind of a pain to bring down, and he's got some little tricks in there. He can make the copies of equipment. Plasticity and Super Sense Giant Reach 4. Giant Reach 4 is like pretty unique. Um, yeah,
You don't
man.
see
I
that
think
very often.
no. I think like Shumagorath would be like the earliest thing like that because he could punch 5 squares away.
Mm-hmm.
So
From
five.
Fantastic Four, there's he's not going to be hard to get, but I like that Franklin Richards, the unique that gets to pick powers. Um,
Super cool.
I don't think that I've seen talk about him being insane, and I think he's good. And 65 points is not a lot, so that's why I think that I really like him. But I think, uh, honestly, the piece I want the most from the set right this moment is the release day LE Mole Man.
Oh yeah, super
I
good,
think
right?
that's probably the piece that I'm most excited for,
Yeah, you just
and
move.
and he's not going to be hard to get.
Yeah, you just move a character a square, right? Your monsters.
Monsters, yeah.
Yeah, man, super good. You got like Wendigo out there just causing trouble. And now you get like the Korath, the Pursuer effect, but on Theme Team, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
And you have
Uh,
monster leadership to come with it.
he's, yep, and if you
I
really
guess
wanted,
Groot's around this. Groot's the thing I forgot about.
no, Groot's gone.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about bronze still. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, in
Uh,
modern, yeah,
you still got Captain Venom, right? Still legal.
still legal. Yep.
So you can make your monsters a theme team. He's also got leadership, so pretty cool support there. Let's see here. Ricky Kirk says, have you ever seen a better meta? Like right now, there are legit 15 teams I can see winning any large event, depending on matchups. This year would have been great for in-person tournament stuff. Uh, Paris kind of replies, says, basing it around the meta was like at Nats and Worlds each year, 2012, 2014, 2017, 2018, were all better. Can't speak about before that. Yeah, so I mean, I've been playing since 2004, so I've seen a lot of different competitive uh, scenes. So I'll let you go first. So since Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah, and really, I didn't get into competitive play until even after that. Probably my first. I mentioned my first WCO I went to. I that was after Superior Foes, so that would be the first that I experienced it. I think right now it's really good. Um, there's a lot of variety of teams as far as he says 15 teams he can see winning an event. I don't know that I see that though.
I don't. Yeah, I don't see 15.
Um, I think there's a lot of top
I
8
would say maybe
potential teams,
five.
but yeah, the amount of winning teams is much less. I think uh, it's very much like you have to come with a plan for Black Widow or hope to dodge her, is what it feels like to me. I don't think she's the auto win team by any means. You've seen Immortal Hulk win, I think maybe more than Black Widow, but um,
So there's like her, there's like Immortal Hulk, or like Don't Die type stuff,
yeah,
right? With like construct robots, and there's like Jason teams, right? Which is
yeah,
a thing. Um, I definitely think we'll see some Fantastic Four teams with
oh
them
for sure.
having like the ability to kind of sideline, based on matchup.
Hmm.
Um, then there's some pretty cool gimmicks
Which
in
is a
there,
really
like
cool mechanic, I think.
yeah, there's some pretty gimmicky stuff in there with like Valeria. Um, Franklin has a few little tricks he can do. Um, there's some good stuff. So I obviously think that'll be play. Um, there's fringe stuff, right? That people always play, like your battle world keywords, right? With like
Yeah,
Sheriff Strange, and we got the God Doom. People will definitely play God Doom, like God Doom
yeah.
with a Sheriff Strange or something.
I
It's
gotta
like
throw down God Doom on like the King's Tomb just to flash those dollar bills.
yeah, man, for sure. Why not?
No,
Um,
but I think it's funny. Yeah, you say Sheriff Strange. People were quick to dump him after ID cards went away, but he's still very good.
It's got a stop click. He hits pretty good from range. Um,
Leadership, perplex.
Leadership +2 perplex on the Battle World Other, which like Doctor Doom can gain, right?
Yep.
Or God Doom, whatever. So yeah, I now as far as like better metas, like what was it? I would say the year Isaac won. Isaac won Worlds, right?
Yeah. That was
I,
last year.
yeah, I would say that was probably better because like there was still like Unimind, right? Was like a thing. Star was like a thing, but then there was like a Super Friends barrier team, that made it like really far into the event. There was some like pretty cool little fringe teams. You had like the Boomerang Squad was a big deal,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah. You had like your Share Strange team, like counter meta teams. Um, so like I don't know. Every year is different, and it depends on your definition of better, right? Like I might like cookie cutter rock paper scissors meta. You know, they're easy to plan for.
Maybe the unpopular opinion, but I like ID cards, so I'm sad to see them gone. I think they did open up a level of diversity that we don't have now. But that being said, the current onboard state is is very much there's a lot that you can do.
Yeah.
I just don't. Again, I don't know that I agree with 15 different teams being able to win an event. That's that's the statement I don't know about. There's a lot of teams that are like top eight potential.
So
Um,
so a lot of it goes into like who's playing it, right?
that's true. Yeah.
Like I can put like a tier two team in like Isaac's hands, right? And then have the tournament filled with like a bunch of me and you, and Isaac's probably gonna win, right? He's just that good. I'm not delusional, and I'm not that proud. Isaac is far better than I am. He's probably gonna win. Um, but if he's going in a field of all the other killers out there, like the Eastons, the PJs, the all the top players, he's gonna have to play the best team he can think of.
Hmm.
So Jeff Bozeman says that he's thinking about running his WWE clicks in a match this Saturday before UFC Fight Night, and it got him wondering, have you ever played some clicks before watching a UFC event the same day? Second question, would you ever consider having Brandon come back either as a guest co-host or guest to catch up with what he's been doing or how he is? Thanks for your continued unique perspectives on this game we love. Man, I got heartburn tonight. Sorry. Uh, so yeah, I always like anytime that I had it there. I watch every UFC event, every UFC event. So if there was a game on Saturday, then I played and watched. So yes, all the time. How about you? Are you a big UFC guy?
I don't watch regularly. I'll watch when I'm with other people watching it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it, but not enough to follow it regularly. But to answer the question, there was one time that this has occurred, and it was when I went to the 1K.
Nice.
We played, and then met up at Wild Wings after and watched the UFC fight. So it has occurred once.
So Brandon and I actually played during a UFC event. Like he brought up Brandon one time, so that was fun. But to answer your question, so Brandon was origin. He's actually the originator of the podcast. He started it. So yeah, of course, I would love to have him back on. But I text him from time to time just to see how he's doing and like let him know how the show's doing and stuff. The first time I got a product from WizKids was really cool. I text him about that, and I but he's so far out of touch from the game. He just left it behind when he moved. He kind of fell out of love with it, which we're gonna get to a question about that actually. But sometime he wasn't having fun with it anymore. So I don't know that he would want to come back on, but I would definitely welcome him back on. Let's see here. So my brother asked the question that he's read several articles and posts that many people are cutting back or leaving the game. And with all the exciting new sets coming out, do you think that sales will end up taking a big hit to the point where WizKids start cutting back on production? Um, I'll let you go first.
It's uh, you probably have more insight onto this than me, but my initial instinct is no. I think it would take a pretty large exit of the player base before they would, reduce production. Being that we're in, pandemic times, maybe they already have reduced production just because they expect less sales. But
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I know that I've also seen the same, that there are people leaving the game. They can't play right now. They're realizing maybe it's not the thing I want to continue doing, and so they're getting out of it. But
Yeah.
to answer the actual question, I don't. My guess is no.
So, and this always gets brought up, and but I find myself repeating it a lot. Is that HeroClix is really unique in the way that it's based off of something else that people already collect, right? It's kind of like if you think of like Funko Pops, right? Um, if I read Marvel comics, right, um, and I like Wolverine or Spider Man or whoever, right? Let's say Spider Man. Um, and I go to the comic store and I see a Funko Pop of Spider Man. I might just buy it, right? For me, I was a big Spider Man fan. I grew up watching the '90s cartoon. Um, I had almost every Spider Man toy that came out at the time. I had the Daily Bugle playset, everything. Um, I walked into a comic book store and saw people playing HeroClix. At first, I dismissed it until I saw a Spider-Man figure on the table, and I was like, "Oh, that's Spider-Man." And I was like, "What is that you guys are doing?" And I got started on HeroClix. So I think that there will always be interest in enough to get new players. WizKid's market strategy seems to be, to me, to push stores that sell other stuff other than HeroClix, right? That's why like you don't see like the HeroClix only stores getting kind of the love that maybe they should, because you can't grow your you can, but it's not easy to grow your player base by only having one game in the store, or even like Magic. If you're only Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and HeroClix, right? Like you're not going to get a lot of crossover because they're not doing Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh HeroClix anymore, right? Um, if you're doing like a board game, if they have like board game night and they have regular comics, it's really easy to walk into a comic book store, see the booster art with God Doom on the back and the Fantastic Four on the front, and you're there to buy your Annihilation Fantastic Four comic and go, shit, I gotta have that. What's one booster, right? And
Right.
people like to open stuff. So I just don't think so. I think a lot of times when people complain, it's the vocal minority, right? It's always like I always like liken it to reviews, right? The majority of reviews come from when something goes wrong, like on Yelp, for example. Uh, it's not you don't see as many reviews about when things go right. You know, there's a real funny viral video where this guy walks into like a McDonald's and he's like, "Who made this sandwich? Who made this sandwich?" Right? And the lady working behind the counter is like, "Oh fuck, here we go." She's like, "I did." And he goes, "This is delicious." And it's like McDonald's, but it's like it's funny because that doesn't happen, right? And that's
Right.
why it's funny. So,
Exactly.
um, yeah, I think that the game will be all right. I think sales are generally up, um, and collectibles, like we talked about earlier, collectibles as a whole are up. So I think we'll be all right.
Painfully so.
Painfully so, yes. Hey man, I'm always tagging you in
You
some
are.
video game posts. Whenever I see some cool stuff, I'm like, oh, Zach would like that.
I almost messaged him about one, and I was like, oh, I can't right now.
Let me know, man, and I can pick it up and ship it if they're not willing to.
All right.
Let's see here. We've got so today on House Rules Gaming, they previewed some really cool stuff from the Absolute Carnage set. I'm gonna share my screen. Zach, you're gonna go in the corner. You're in timeout. So we've got here the Spider-Man 1776. We talked about him earlier. Uh, you can see it, right?
I can see it.
Okay. So we talked about this guy earlier. He's got a trait when establishing theme teams, characters, and starting force with the soldier keyword, gain the Spider-Man family keyword. Right? Super good. Uh, trait
Very
number
good.
two. Trait number two: when Spider-Man 76 hits an opposing character, if no other character has been placed this turn, after resolution, you may roll d6 3 through 6 and place another friendly character with the Spider-Man family keyword adjacent. But that's not a new trait, right? Calling help from the Spider-Verse. That's
No, that
a
was in the Superior Foe set. Yeah.
right. So, like, think about what we talked about earlier, giving these soldiers the Spider-Man family keyword. Now you can just like portal them over next
Oh
to
yeah.
him. Like that's super scary.
Yep.
He's got a third trait, which is this trait's amazing. Leadership and super senses. Opposing forces have action total -1, minimum 2. Opposing characters within 6 squares can't use leadership or autonomous, right? So he's just all about just like ruining what you've got going
Mm-hmm.
for 50 points. And he's got at 50 points, he's got perplex, which is nice. He's also got charge and blades, which is also good when you're trying to get your opponent in, or when you're trying to get the rest of your team in to portal over there. That's pretty good.
I mean,
He's
I was
Go
just gonna
ahead.
say, or you play, maybe you're playing other Spider Verse pieces. He's not the most mobile piece, but if he gets ported over, he could do some damage.
For sure. Um, he does have a stop click on click number 2 if you're playing him at 75 points. That gives him combat reflexes and toughness, so it helps you kind of close the gap. He does have Indomitable. He's a wild card. He's got improved movement, elevated and hindering. Like I said, traded super senses, always nice. Of course, Black Widow, right? The
Mm-hmm.
disclaimer.
Yeah, the
He's not
Duplex Wave.
yeah, he's not unique, right? So you can stack -1s. You're still gonna always be minimum 2, but a lot of teams are playing like multiple leaderships, or they're playing like the Justice League has a few characters give extra actions on top of leadership, right? But they rely on those. So
Doctor
if I,
Fate.
Dr. Fate, so if I'm building a team that relies on having 5 actions, taking me down to 4 or 3, um, is like a pain in the butt, right? So, super super good and interesting piece.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
what he's
he's.
based on.
So I don't know if this is true. I have to assume it is because I don't know otherwise. But I saw, I think it was House Rules Gaming themselves posted in the comments for their post that said, WizKids got to make their own pieces or design their own
Wiz
pieces.
Kids was allowed to come up with their own characters, so all the chases are themed around characters they made up.
Yeah,
Hmm. That must have, what House Rules was at Gamma? That might have been some information that was given at Gamma that wasn't public.
I'm unsure about that.
Yeah, that's cool if it's true.
Yeah.
I also don't know how they got these dials. Like it's like really
I'm
odd, but
glad
okay.
the text is written below because the pictures are not the
Are
greatest quality.
Yeah, they're not great. Steampunk Penny is when establishing theme teams. So same thing, but with robots, right? They get to become Spider-Man family.
Yep.
She's got the calling help from the Spider Verse. We don't need to go over that. She got a special damage power, Perplex, with a unique modifier that when she uses Perplex to target another friendly character with that key with the Spider-Man family keyword, it doesn't choose damage. You may roll a d6 and instead modify the chosen value by half the result. So your minimum 1, maximum 3 on that, which is cool.
Yep.
You can get that power for a meager 45 points. That's super good. Again, charge a charging figure with 4. She's got 5 range, in Dom, wild card, improved elevated, and characters. So that's good.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like her a lot. I don't like her quite as much as the previous guy, but on
right.
robot themes, you think about what a big perplex like that could potentially bring, and how minimal cost she is. Um, and she's packing. Say you even play her at full dial, she's 18 invincible is not easy to deal with necessarily.
Yeah. So my first thought would be like right off the bat, right off rip would be like the constructs, right? Now you're
Yeah,
making them, you're turning them into theme teams, like a name theme team, giving
right.
them theme prob, right? Which is significant if people are playing stuff like Ace, right?
It is,
And
and it's
then
not hard to pack that theme either.
no, and not only that, like they hit, the
Yeah,
constructs hit.
yeah,
So they've got 12 attacks. So you can run Sabretooth up there. You can shoot with Magneto, portal over your spider. Wait, did they have to hit? Oh, they have to hit. Never mind.
yeah.
Um, but still, it's pretty good.
I don't know that it
Oh,
would be playable, but looking at it,
actually, you can portal over the Sabretooth or Magneto. That'd be pretty cool.
yes, yeah. I was
Hmm.
gonna say it's probably not. It's probably a scary play, but in a Bronze Age format, this makes like an Ultron Swarm a named theme.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've got Ghost Spider, aka Spider Gwen. She ignores everything. Oh no, I'm sorry. She ignores elevated and hindering for movement and characters for targeting. She's got dimensional travel watch. Um, she may start the game with the dimensional watch equipped, which we'll go over real quick. She's got when you give her a move action and moves 5 squares or less, she gets a free attack. Um, she's got two different dials, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. I don't know why either because she doesn't have 2 point values. At least not that was recorded. It's not on the card either. Yeah, so
Right. I'm wondering if she's like a wild dial, like we see with some of the battlegrounds set that Scott Porter opened up. Um, so I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on that, right?
yeah,
There could be another figure that says like bring her in on click number 7 or something like that too.
seems likely. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got the dimensional watch that we just mentioned, which gives you phase and teleport. When it hits an opposing character of no other characters, so it's like calling help from the Spider Verse, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Miles Morales, who was brought up in the question earlier. Ultimate team ability coming back, pretty cool. Let's see, he can start with the dimensional watch equipped, so that's cool. He's got plasticity, sidestep, and stealth as a special. He's got a special attack with precision strike when Spider-Man is given a move action and moves 5 squares or less. So same as Gwen, right? Gets that free attack. Or he gets an in cap as range at no cost, but he gets to target all opposing characters within range and line of fire. It's actually a little bit better than Gwen's.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's nice when you've got the dimensional watch because it's phasing, right? So you can
Yeah,
phase 5 and or less and get that off.
yeah. He's only got 4 range.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still 9 swing to in cap a whole team. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's got good keywords too.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I'm gonna quit screen sharing for just a second. Stop sharing. Okay. Um, we did also get an unboxing from Scott Porter with the battlegrounds thing. So Zach, you found some interesting text. You still have it open.
I do. Yeah, it's from the figures.com preview
So
that I saw posted.
go ahead and read that while I pull these up.
Sure. So it's just regarding the dual dials is what they called it here, where each figure has an A and B dial that are on the same base. And so the idea behind this set, from what I recall, is that it's going to be used. One reason it's going to be used is to help people learn to play, and
Yeah.
so the A dial is going to be simple and straightforward. They say with fully modern stats, but a limited number of powers and no extras like traits, special powers, etc. And that's written verbatim here from their article, but I mean, you can see right there. Just if you've ever tried to teach someone to play the games, getting
It's
into
okay,
special
yeah.
powers and traits is a whole headache. So I think it's pretty cool. And then it says here the B dials are more what you'd expect from figures coming in modern fast forces with an array of standard powers
Right.
and one or two traits or special powers. So, and then each one has their own card, so you don't have to worry about having a book card or something.
Yeah, I like that. I'd rather not have the book cards. Those bug me. So like I think just looking through, there's nothing like super busted in here.
No, I didn't see anything that immediately stood out to me. Granted, I will say that I didn't flip through super hard, but
I do like this Captain Marvel. If you look at her special movement, hypersonic speed, when she's in hits after resolution, she can use charge at no cost. So she's getting
that's
two
cool.
attacks
Yeah,
for 75 points and a 12 movement. That's not bad.
I know that I was seeing some complaints about sculpture use, but that's
I
the
mean,
eternal complaint.
whatever. I mean, hey,
It doesn't bother me, but
if they're reusing this sculpt,
right,
like
it's an
I'm
excellent
okay
sculpt.
with that. I'm okay
Yeah,
with that.
I like
And the
the
Ultron one too, right? The Chase
that's the
Ultron's
chase, right?
reused.
Yeah,
Yeah, super
I
cool.
I like the dual dial mechanic. Like my son is 7, and I recently started teaching him to play. And what I did was I went and I grabbed old like single base hero clicks that didn't have cards, and that's what we were using because it was easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good
But I
idea.
think this is a great idea because you get an easy way to teach a new player, but those pieces can double up as a more valuable, useful piece as they learn to play.
You also get like these cool campaigns, right? Almost like the living card games in a way.
Yeah, and
With
they had these in the Fantastic Four Cosmic Clash starter too. They had stuff like this, these
Yep,
scenarios,
yep.
which is really cool.
I know my brother and my nephew play them. Um, they had a good amount of fun with them. So yeah, man, I think it's pretty reasonable set. I mean, I'm sure it's not very expensive, right? You get some cool dials, I mean, come on, 25 points for this Black Widow is not that bad. She's got Indom, she's got shape change and super senses, 11 attack, 3 damage for 25 points. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean it's not bad.
that's
No,
not bad, you know. Um, kind of looking at these other figures, 50 points for these stats with Empower is pretty good. Um, maybe not the best, but decent. So there's some cool stuff in here. I'll probably pick it up. Probably pick it up. We got they got new maps in there,
yeah, I
which
actually
is
liked.
which is
Do you have a picture of that?
yep,
There was another that one. I like that one a lot. I think that one looks like
yep.
a lot of fun.
So this one reminds me of the best friends map, the Four
Yeah,
Points Gaming one, right? It's just a little bit easier on the eyes to look at.
and it's got
This
an extra hole in the wall there.
extra hole in the wall, and like this was in the middle, smack dab before, right? So it's pretty much that map if you really think about it. It's
It's
kind of
pretty
cool.
close.
This one's a lot like Hank Pym's lab from the Age of Ultron set, in a way.
Okay, I can see that.
I'm wondering if it's open air. Looks like there might be
Oh,
some open air.
yeah,
Not a fan of open air, but it is what it is. This map is just horrid to look at, but
that's awful on the eyes.
I don't know what's going on
It
here.
looks like they scribbled all over it with a marker.
It looks like somebody's 3-year-old designed it.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't like
that
looking at that.
are those wires? Is that what that's supposed to be? Is a bunch of
Well,
wires
yeah,
on
if you
them?
look at it from the side, it looks like it's Ultron's face. So I assume it's
Oh,
wires.
yeah, correct. I did not even. So it's like the Stark Tower, right? It looks like Iron Man's head.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh
Cool.
man, that's awful. I'm gonna make sure I play that as much as possible just to make people upset.
You got these cool action tokens. I actually like these quite a bit. I am a fan. They look small, like
Yeah,
so. Like look at his finger here, and then you look at the size of this object,
it
and
looks
they're
to me
light,
like it's
but they're
designed for the old style.
they're light objects, right? So
Yeah,
they're small. It's a toaster. It's smaller. It's a frying pan.
and
It's
dumbbell.
smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if like the heavy objects are bigger.
So I wonder, like these action tokens you mentioned, looking at his thumb, it does look small. So I wonder if if they're thinking about it, and I don't know if I'm sure you've seen people do this, but I still have locals who they do the thing where they set the little glass beads next to their pieces instead of
Oh
using the
yeah,
poker chip style. So
yeah,
I wonder if that's how these are going to work out more because they are smaller.
my good friend Carl, he did that. He still does that. Alternates clear and blue.
Yep.
Um,
Hey,
we got these
Taskmaster.
cool bystanders. I don't believe these will be like playable
Oh,
on their
purple
own.
ring.
Yeah, kind
It's
of
too
a
bad. I
football.
want Taskmaster.
Yeah, man, Flurry Prob, right?
Yeah.
And then even Nick Fury,
Yep.
some Prob there. Record, my boy Record. Some dice. So it's
They
pretty
look
cool
very
stuff.
similar to the old Avengers Assemble dice.
Correct, correct. Yeah, man, some cool stuff coming down the pipe from WizKids. I like it. I am a fan. Of course, I'm a fan of the game. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited about Absolute Carnage coming out. I
I
bought
couldn't
all
tell
the
based on your shirt.
yeah, right. I bought all the comics. I bought my keychain actually has Carnage on it too.
Oh, cool.
As a gift.
You know, I mentioned my friend Garrett who got me into this game, and he's a huge Venom fan, and he doesn't buy much sealed product anymore. This might be what can get him back into it, honestly.
Really, really,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, it's always fun to see players. So my friend Carl, he sold his collection to Pat actually, um, maybe 2 years ago. And he had been playing since the very beginning. And then he's like, he calls me out of the blue, right? I mean, not out of the blue. We talk all the time, but he called me out of the blue. He's like, "Hey, bro, I bought a, I bought a CR SR of Justice League Unlimited." I was like, "Why?" Like, you know, he's like, "I love that cartoon." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "You bought a full CRSR?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I paid a lot though. I paid 275." I was like, "That's not bad." And then like now, especially if you look at some of the price of some of these figures, like $40 for the Atom, right? That's a lot. And then he goes, "Hey bro, what are these blue cards for?" He's like, he goes like, "I got like 13 of them." And I was
Oh,
like,
dang.
"Yeah." I was like, "What'd you get?" He's like, "I got 3 of these Amazo Wonder Woman ones." I'm like, "Cool, cool."
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, that was a good buy, man. That was a good buy. Dark Side's $50. The Atom's $40. CUR is probably $40. Uh, let's team ups go for a little bit of money.
I think that the team up cards have they? I haven't been following too much. Has there been kind of an established rarity on those in terms of how much you get per brick or whatever?
Um, I didn't really keep up on it. I know, um, based on my openings, it was like I want to say I got like 8 or 9 in a case.
Okay.
So it's reasonable.
Okay.
It's more than like ID cards where it was like five per case.
Yeah.
and like one rare. It was like what the fuck. So it was better than that. But what's like really odd is like so you get a lot of right when you open a brick you get just a lot of commons, right? Um, so with Amazo as an example, like you might pull 3 Amazos, the common, right? Um, you might pull 5, right? You might pull 1 because I've got bricks where like with Joker, I only pulled like 2 or 3 Jokers out of like 3 or 4 bricks total.
Oh wow.
You
It's like
know?
those stupid Lokis. I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
get them.
yeah, yeah. And so like if you think about it like that, it's like, well, I might get Amazo, and then my Amazo might have a team up card. Whereas like if you pull like Martian Manhunter, like 1 out of every 2, even though he's a rare, like 1 out of every 2 is coming in with the team up card. And then like considering that Amazo is so much more playable than Martian Manhunter,
Yeah.
like and the way that his team up cards function, they function like totally different than the rest. Like because they're based on sideline, right? The rest are based on the
Right.
map.
Yeah, they restrict your sideline too, which is
Right.
the very
It
interesting part.
it's fine. It's mostly fine now, right? If you're not playing Jason and you're not playing like shifting focus because there's no ID cards, right?
Right, but you can't play any trouble alerts or troublemakers.
I mean that's fine. If you're
Yeah.
playing Amaze, you probably don't care, you know. He's so it's like I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough to gauge interest on these things. I know like the prices on them has been fluctuating like crazy. I know like the Shining Knight card I sold to Landers for like $14, and then it like went up to like 30, and now it's back down. It's like I don't know. It's like really weird. Again, it goes hand in hand with the collectability versus playability, right? And the fact that it's like one guy's like, I will trade this chase for two of the date night team up cards, and it's like really, like I'd probably do that, like
Yeah.
I don't have to, but I'd probably do that, because he's like, I love that episode. It's my favorite episode, and I'm like, okay, to
Yeah.
each their
It's
own.
it's an interesting mechanic. We don't like I don't need to go into it, but it's I like to see them trying new things.
Yeah. It's just one step closer to the elimination of the dials, like I said. So everybody called me crazy and like a curmudgeon when I first said this. When they were saying like they're gonna put dials on the cards, right? When they put dials on the cards, they're gonna let your opponent see them, which I was right. And I said then we're just one step away from not having dials, period, right? Um, and I said what they're gonna do is gonna be like Dice Masters. You're gonna pull like one figure, and there'll be multiple cards for that figure because like Dice Masters is one die, but multiple cards for that die, right? And then like you just keep track on the card, and like I feel like with the way the battlegrounds thing went, the team up cards, I'm like, man, we're just getting closer and closer. So it would be smart on WizKids' part, I guess, and make them some money, but I would not
Yeah.
be a fan.
Well, we'll have to see what happens, I suppose. I hope not, because the variety is the fun part, and especially it's a miniatures game. You want to play with those pieces,
Right. Well, you still have your miniature.
but you want more. You
Yeah,
don't want to play with the same one the whole time.
sure. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, essentially, you can play with like a checker, right? This checker is Black Widow. That Oreo cookie over there is a Martian Manhunter. So I don't know. It's interesting. So I think that covers pretty much everything that's come out in the last couple of weeks. Zach, you are going into round 3 of the Celtic Classic.
Yep.
Um, any ideas what you're gonna play? Are you still working on that? Still waiting on lists? You don't have to tell me your team because I don't want to give it away before you play.
Oh man, I don't care. I post my teams on Facebook before tournaments.
But
uh,
uh,
yeah, I'm playing Joe Alves in round 3 that got announced today. I think we're gonna play on Tuesday.
okay,
Um,
that's fun.
I'm yeah, I was going back and forth on what to play. I'm playing something real simple. I don't mind sharing it. I'm playing the Secret Wars Battle World Regent at 100. I'm playing 2 of those and 2 of the rare Lex Luthor from Batman the Animated Series. So it'll give me 4 perplexes, 4 leaderships, and 2 outwits, uh, with all the improved targeting I could ever want. So we'll see how it goes.
Is there anything? Oh, I don't want to. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to give him ideas on how to beat you.
That's fine.
Oh, that's an interesting team. We talked about it. I hope you win because I have a my personal favorite team that I really want you to play, man. I really want you to play it. So I won't give it away yet, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it if you win.
For sure. Yeah,
Hopefully nobody ruins the other pieces required.
this round is going to be the round of Nimrod, if I had to guess. Somehow he's made it through 2 rounds. Nobody's won with him. And so I think this is the round.
He's really luck based, and like with the more open field, you have more gimmicks to beat him with. And so then now you're getting down to where it's like I don't just have all the pulse wave or all the free damage or like all the little tricks to get rid of him.
Right.
Like he's outwittable, but it's like you still got to deal with his trait if you're not pulse waving him. And that can single handedly lose you games. I know, like at states last year, it was like I was running through teams with my team because I could just get so many attacks off, and then I'm like, I gotta play Nimrod, and I was like, all right, I'm just not gonna bump any of my attack values and hope that when I hit, if I hit, it's because I'm rolling high, right?
Right.
And I did. I was rolling like nines and tens, but he was matching me. And so I still just like lost. I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. And I played Nimrod in Majestic's age, right? So it's like I know how annoying he is.
And you played him with the blue battery too, didn't you?
I played him with Blue
So it's
Battery
even
and
worse.
I played him with Bizarro Green Arrows. You can't even single target pulse wave him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a. I have opinions on Nimrod. I don't think it's a very fun piece. I don't think it's fun to play against in any way, and I really dislike seeing it across the board. But
You
you
gotta
know,
deal with it if you
it
gotta
is
deal
what
with
it
it.
is.
So
It's got
so
enough
so
weaknesses you can't
Joe
do.
should play Nimrod, is what you're saying.
I think my team actually might play well against Nimrod. That's one of I might have thought about it a little bit.
All right. All
Hence,
right.
hence the 2 outwits.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks, Zach, for coming on. It's already getting late here. You're tired, I can see. I'm tired. Um, I still gotta figure out if I'm gonna try and get my intro and all this other stuff back because I had to go nuclear on my computer. As you know, I was bugging you
Yep,
earlier in the week about it. So this one might go up just as is. So, but thanks for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it. Good luck on Tuesday. I'll be bugging you all weekend. I know you'll be sending me teams. We got to get some practice in for the 3v3,
definitely.
and so I gotta knock the rust off these dice, man. So
The digital
uh,
dice, though.
the digital dice, yeah. So like I said, thanks again. Shout out to my nephew Ernie. His birthday was this week. Happy birthday, Ernie. I bought him I bought him a couple boosters of Justice League, and he got the rare. He got two rare Amazos and the Prime Batman out of the two boosters.
Oh, nice.
So he plussed on that. Congrats on the pools. Happy birthday. And remember, the real fun begins when you're 2 clicks from KO.